females, they go down and get up and they suddenly hear a sound and the knee becomes painful. Get an MRI done, usually the meniscus root is torn. They don't have a meniscus body tear, it's a root which is torn. And when the meniscus root is torn, the meniscus just goes out of the joint. That is called meniscus extrusion. So when you see these MRI patients of the MRI which have got a meniscal root tear, you will realize that the whole root has actually subluxated. So that's a femur, that's a tibia. See how the meniscus has actually gone out of the outside the joint. It is exposing the cartilage above and the cartilage below and putting the pressure so that the arthritis is going to happen. When you have an extrusion like this, the meniscus goes out and is sitting under the medial collateral ligament. That is the place where you will have to reduce the meniscus and prevent the extrusion. So when we have a tear like this, which has actually gone out and sitting under the medial collateral ligament, all the hoop stresses are gone. Femur and tibia are not going to hit each other and arthritis is definitely going to happen. So in these patients, we do what is called as an extrusion repair. So where displaced meniscus has to be brought back inside the joint between the femur and tibia so that the cushion starts to happen. And how does that happen? When the meniscus is torn like this, there is a contracture in the meniscotibial ligaments. These are the tibial ligaments which are holding the meniscus with the femur. So you need to the meniscotibial ligament so that the meniscus starts to float. Now the meniscus has gone out, it is extruded. So we made an accessory portal so as to go into the joint. So this is the accessory portal and I am putting an elevator which is going inside the joint and we are elevating the meniscotibial ligament. We start at under surface and then go all the way back and the way back. Ligament release is important. Sometimes you also have to do the superior release which is called as a meniscocapsular ligament release, which is on the above side. So here meniscus is again, it's a root tear, meniscus is displaced. I want to bring the meniscus between the femur and tibia, but it is sitting out under the medial collateral ligament. So what basically you are going to do is do a release in the down, which is a meniscotibial release, and also do a release which is above. So after meniscotibial release, still meniscus is not coming. It is still going away from the joint. You can see it is going away from the joint. We need to bring it into the joint. So what you start doing is releasing from the front. We release it from the front, called as a peripheral release or a meniscocapsular release. We start releasing the attachment between the meniscus and the capsule, slowly and slowly, all the way from midpoint till the posterior point. When you have done that, the meniscus starts to reduce nicely. Peripheral release helps us in improving the mobility of meniscus, and now meniscus starts to come slowly and slowly back between the femur and the tibia. So before you, unless and until you release it, you won't be able to reduce the extruded meniscus. And when you have reduced the extruded meniscus, the mobility of this meniscus becomes better, and now you can do all the steps of meniscus repair. Once you have repaired that, now you have to stitch the meniscus. So once you have done a release, you have to do the root repair and we stitch the meniscus. Unless and until we don't stitch the meniscus, it is going to extrude back again. And that is why an important stitch is put, which is called a centralizing stitch. So on the periphery of that meniscus, under the surface, we are going to make a small tunnel. It is called as a centralizing tunnel, which is made with an arthroscopy. We just go with a small zig. It is something like an ACL zig or a simple ligament reconstruction zig. We just go under the meniscus. We elevate it, we go under the meniscus, and when we go under the meniscus, we are going to make a small tunnel which is going from the tibia onto the peripheral of the meniscus there. So we freshen this area, we put our zig into the joint in the periphery, and we drill a small wire. So, and everything, the stitches have to be taken from an accessory medial portal. You pass a lasso like this, we take a bite into the meniscus so that we are able to hold the meniscus nicely. So that's the first bite we have taken into the periphery of meniscus. You don't want the extrusion to go back. You want to fix that meniscus exactly at the place from where it has actually gone away. So you take a bite into the meniscus, shuttle it with the fiber wire. That's how we have done it. Then we take another bite like this so that it is something like a mattress configuration. So the suture is going from above. Then you take a shuttle out, tie the knot in the shuttle and take the sutures out like this. So it is something like a mattress configuration of the suture which you have taken like this. The suture is shuttled, and once you have done that, you have a suture like this, and then you go under the meniscus. You have put your zig under the meniscus. Make a small tunnel. It's a 4 millimeter small tunnel on the undersurface of meniscus, which is a transtibial tunnel. It goes through the tibia. See, a small drill bit is coming under the meniscus. You lift the meniscus up. You make a small tunnel. You pass in a shuttle suture like this. You lift it up. That's a small tunnel which you have made under the meniscus. You pass in your nylon suture. You bring the nylon suture from outer surface of meniscus. Shuttle this thread which you have already taken a bite into the meniscus. And when you pull down, see how meniscus sits nicely. So even excluded meniscus which has gone out of the knee joint, you can actually put a centralizing stitch. Just pull it down into the joint so that you have now a meniscus between femur and tibia. And finally, you are going to pull and push and put it onto the bone like this. It's a pull-through suture. You're just going to pull the sutures and put it back onto the place. So even excluded tears which have gone out, you are able to reduce the exclusion, you are able to mobilize it, and you are able to centralize the meniscus back. So you try to repair the meniscus tear as much as possible. And the last hidden lesion is called as a ramp lesion. It is a lesion which is on the back of the meniscus. You really need to be very, very cautious about ramp lesions. MRI shows a ramp lesion. So see the meniscus, there is a white fluid in behind. That's a ramp lesion. The meniscus is unstable. Commonly seen when you have an ACL deficient knee. We have gone in the back of the knee. This arthroscopy is done in the back of the knee. And this is a posterior medial portal. We make a posterior medial portal. And we can palpate that is the tear in the back of the knee. So that's a posterior ramp tear. Ramp in the back of the knee. So we have just made a posterior medial portal. We have put a small cannula in the posterior medial portal called as a passport cannula. It will help me in passing stitches in the back of the knee. And then you pass in a small suture passing device called as a ramp lasso. We take a bite into the meniscus and the capsule like this. Lift the posterior part of the meniscus which has gone down like this, and take another bite into the anterior part of the meniscus so we are able to reduce it. So we take a bite into the anterior part, lift it up, pass a non-absorbable suture, something like a fiber wire through it. So that is gone. So that's a fiber wire or fiber stick, and then tie a sliding knot which goes. And the knot is not towards the meniscus side but towards the capsular side. So you take the thread like this, then you take a knot and you pass the knot and it goes down, and you push the knot towards the capsular side, not the meniscal side. Usually these bite tears need more than one, so you take another bite between the capsule and the meniscus, lift it up, take a knot. So this is a posterior arthroscopy which is done for a hidden lesion or a ramp lesion. So meniscus tear is important. You must see the anterior lesions, you must see the posterior lesions, you must try to centralize a torn meniscus. And whenever you do an arthroscopy which is as difficult as these, you always keep your instruments ready, always be ready for surprises, but always look at the hidden areas, especially the root and the ramp. Meniscus tear have become very, very common, and meniscus repairs are you can't leave these joints.